In this lesson, I'd like to teach you a few different ways that you can practice drop 2 chords to help them stick underneath your fingers and in your ears. If you'd like to get the PDF for any of the examples in today's lesson, please visit my Patreon page by clicking the link below, and if you'd like a free beginner jazz guitar ebook, then visit the link in the description. Let's get into the lesson. In order to do these assignments, then you already need to have the first step done, which is basically being able to play through the drop 2 chords. So if you're at a point where, for example, if I said to you, do you know 4 different G major 7 chords, and you can play all the 4 major 7th drop 2 chords without any hesitation, then you're good to move on to this step. So what we're going to be doing is actually looking at drop 2 chords in the key of C. We're going to be looking at a 2-5-1 in C. So in a 2-5-1 in C, you basically have D minor 7 for a bar, G7, C major 7, and then we're going to put some kind of A7 at the end to turn the harmony back around to D minor. So if we locate our 4 D minor 7 voicings, we've got this voicing right here, this voicing, this voicing, and then finally this voicing up here. So what we need to do is find the first voicing and then locate the nearest available G7 chord. So one that is very close to this particular voicing is this G7 chord right here. So we've got 2, 5, and then we need to find the nearest available C major 7 voicing to that G7, which could be this one right here. So we've got this so far, 2, 5, and then we've got a 1 chord with the 5th on the top. Okay, you can do the same thing for the next chord. So if we remember our D minor 7th drop 2 chords, the next one in the series was this one. So you can play this one right here, and then you can locate the nearest available G7 chord, which could be this one. Some of these, they're all close to the nearest minor 7 chord. For example, if you're playing that D minor 7 chord, you could easily go up there. The idea is to practice good voice leading, so you're not, for example, playing this D minor 7th chord, this G, and then this C. That's not really going to work out too well for us. So back on track, so we have D minor 7 chord, G dominant 7, and then the nearest available C major 7 that we can play will be this one right here. So that's given us 2 ways in which we can play a 2-5-1 in C using drop 2 chords. Now what I'd like you to do is to try and carry on this process using the remaining 2 inversions. So you've got a D minor 7 there and a D minor 7 all the way up here to look at the 2, 5, 1, 4. All 3 voicings for each one of those. And you can add an A7 at the end as well. That's something that I didn't mention earlier. So once you've done all these as 2-5-1s, an A7 pulls the chords back round to D minor if you want to do that as well. So same thing up here, 2, 5, 1, A7. Let's now hear how all these voicings sound against a track, and once you can work these out, that is the best possible way to do it. Try and find a backing track and just comp them using whole notes, like in this example. Once you've done that, the next thing you can begin to do is to try and add 2 inversions per bar. So with this D minor 7 chord, we're going to try and locate another inversion of D minor. Let's give that a go. Whenever I'm teaching drop 2 chords, I usually find that students find this voicing problematic And indeed that chord is hard to get on the fly, so realistically you can persevere with that, and some people do manage to get it. Or if you wanted to substitute another chord to be able to grab that easier, then what you could do is, rather than play this C major 7 chord, you could play a C6-9 there. So I've got E, A, D and G, and that gives you a chord that's a little bit easier to grab on the fly, rather than kind of getting hung up with that voicing, which is a bigger fret span to get your fingers round. The reason why this chord works is because this is a C6-9, so it's still fundamentally a major chord. So any major 7th sound can be substituted with a 6-9 chord, a major 9 chord. They're all going to be interchangeable with each other. Like here's a 6-9, here's another 6-9, major 7. They're all from the same family of chords. Once you can do those assignments, the next thing might be to change all the dominant 7 chords into dominant 7 flat 9s. So the way to do that is to play a dominant 7 chord, locate the root, move it up a semitone. Same thing in this voicing right here. Find the root, move it up a semitone. Same thing again here. And then you'll notice that you've got this movable diminished chord, which is also a dominant 7 flat 9 chord. Now this works particularly well because the 5 chord that we're talking about, the 2-5-1, is a resolving dominant chord. So 2-5-1s generally sound better with some kind of alterations on them. That versus that's with a dominant 7 flat 9, and now with just a regular G7, the dominant 7 flat 9 has a lot more tension before it resolves. So you could do that. And the A7 flat 9 that I mentioned earlier, or the A7 chord, can also be changed into a flat 9 chord. So you could have 2, 5, 7 flat 9, 1 chord, and then that'd be a 5 of 2, a 5-7 flat 9. So I'm now going to play the track again, adding some dominant 7 flat 9s in place of the dominant 7 chords. Let's hear how that sounds. The next way that you can practice drop 2 chords is by taking them through cycles. So what that means is you're going to take any major 7 drop 2 chord to begin with, maybe this one, and then if we're moving it through a cycle, we're going through this motion where we keep going up a 4th and down a 5th. So if we start on a C, we're then going to go to an F major 7, and you can keep these inversions going round. So now we're at B flat, and then after B flat would be at E flat, and then would be at A flat, and then would be at D flat again, and you can continue going around the cycle with those inversions. And what you simply do then is take another of the 4 drop 2 inversions. So that time we started with this major 7 chord, so after that we could maybe start with this one, and then we could go to the nearest available F major 7 version for a 4th higher. So I'm going C major 7, F major 7 there, and then from F major 7 we want to go to a B flat major 7, which will be there, and then we need to go to E flat major 7. Again, you can take 2 inversions around the entire cycle. You can do that with all 4 inversions for each chord type. So that would be 4, 8, 12. That'd be 16 different ways that you could practice that. Okay, so the very last way that I'd like to show you these drop 2 chords is by kind of doing what I did before, but this is a harder version. Having done all that, this would be the next step to do. As previously mentioned, you want to try and practice chords with good voice leading, meaning that when you've got a note on the top string, like in the 2-5-1 examples, that's moving as little as possible to get to the next chord. Now, an exercise that you can do to enforce this with drop 2 chords is to pick a drop 2 inversion. Let's say, for example, this C major 7 right here. Now, at the top of the chord is a B natural, right? So if we're going a 4th above that to F major 7, we want to try and keep the top note of the F major 7 close to that B natural. So if we only move it up a semitone, then we get the note C, right? And that'll be how we would harmonise that C note on F major 7. So we've got C major 7, then we've got F major 7. If we keep on going with this idea, then the next chord that we have is an E flat major 7, sorry, a B flat major 7, and if the C is there, then B flat, we could go to the tonic of B flat, we could go to the third of B flat, but either way, what you're going to have, say if we go to the tonic for example, because that's the idea that I've notated down, we're going to have C major 7, F major 7, B flat major 7, and as you can see, I've hardly gone out of my way to catch any of these chords so far. And if we keep on going with that philosophy, then E flat major 7 will be there, then you could go to maybe A flat major 7, D flat major 7, you know, and I'm keeping all the chords within a centrally located fingerboard position so that I'm not shifting around, and it's a good exercise to try and do that with drop 2 chords. So that concludes the drop 2 assignments. If you have any questions about those, feel free to leave a question in the comment section below and let me know how you get on with these, especially that voicing. I'm curious to know if you know drop 2 chords, is this a chord you play or would you rather substitute it for this easier 6/9 chord? Let me know in the comment section below.